Alright, hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to be looking at the update 8.0 preview. This update should be dropping around mid-June, hopefully, sometime around there. So we're going to be going ahead and going over all the changes that will occur in update 8.0. So the very first thing, of course, is going to be the M6 Yo line will be entering the game. There are going to be 4 tanks in this line. You, of course, have the Tier 7, the M7 Yo, which is a very weird looking tank. As you can see, I'm not going to be going over these tanks too much right here because I will be doing reviews on these tanks as soon as they come out. And don't worry, I actually have free XP this time, so I'll be able to do a review on the Tier 10 the very first day. So, yeah, I finally have that. So, I mean, we're not really going to go over these too much, just show the armor profiles real quick. And stuff, and I've already kind of talked about these tanks some in previous videos, so I'm sure you know a little about them and stuff, but like I said, we'll be going over them in much more detail in the next month or so. So now on to the balance changes, I guess you could say, yeah, balance changes of the update. The first thing is the M6 Yo line. By the way, it costs 645,000 experience to get to the Tier 10. I think that includes modules, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's how much it will cost you to get the M6 Yo. I keep calling it the Yaw sometimes. I don't know. The Yo. If you want to save up that much for experience, that's how much I have, so I'm good. Thankfully, I'll be able to immediately get the Tier 10. But there are some balance changes, of course, coming to the M6 Yo, which I'm sure most of you already know about. It is the 2-shot gun is getting a massive nerf on it that takes it from an OP gun to a decent gun. It's not like horrible, but it's not like an amazing gun. It's decent. It has very strong attributes, of course, getting out that 900 damage in such quick time, making it a very good peekaboo tank, and one that you want to stay second line and kind of just trade with other heavies with, because you'll be coming out on top in pretty much every single situation like that. So we're not really going to go over it too much here, but as you can see, the magazine reload these are actually wrong. The stuff on the right is what the 2-shot gun is, and the stuff on the left is what the 1-shot gun is. I'm not sure what Blitzhanger was doing here. This is not correct. Okay, we're not really going to talk about too much because this is not actually really what... This is weird. Alright, I'm a little confused here. Anyway, they're nerfing the reload on the magazine. I think they're nerfing the turret, the engine power a little too, and maybe a couple other minor things, but mainly just the reload of that gun. So we'll go ahead and move on from that. That's a little confusing. Not sure what's going on up there. Anyway, moving on to the Kampf Panzer 50T, and now I will say, when I did my preview of this tank, I had it completely wrong. This was actually a horrible tank, and it is a very good thing that they are buffing this, because it was horrible. It had no armor, a bad gun, not very mobile. It was a bad tank. I thought it was going to be like a Leopard 1, but just with a little bit less speed and a little bit, and a decent armor profile. No, the armor profile is horrible. It's just slower than a Leopard. The gun was way worse. No, it was horrible. So it is a good thing that they are buffing this tank. They're taking off 0.7 on the reload. They're making the dispersion better. They're making the traverse speed better, effective power rate ratio better, and terrain resistance better. I think this will definitely help a lot. I think this won't be OP still, even after this buff or anything. I think it will just be an okay tank. Of course, the real issue was that the armor is just horrible and it doesn't have enough speed. But hopefully this does make it better of the tank. We'll have to see, though. We'll have to wait and see when it comes out and stuff, if it is. Another thing is just the AE Phase 1, just that it will be in this update. I think it will be sold this update, because there's nothing, they're not showing like balance changes or anything to this, so I'm guessing that it will just be sold in update 8.0, which I would guess, because it's been a while now. So, but we'll have to wait and see. T54 is going to be getting a very slight penetration buff, just another 5, not anything big, and that is on the stock gun too, so it's kind of pointless. Pershing is getting a decent buff on this tank. It's getting about 0.3 seconds off the reload. It's okay. It could use more. I think they could give this down to like a 6.5 second reload or something like that. Maybe even less, but it's a start on this tank, which I actually enjoyed this tank. I really liked it. A lot of people absolutely hate this tank. I did really well in this tank, which kind of was funny because I was expecting to hate it, but I actually enjoyed it. So this will make this tank even a little better, but I think they could buff it more because for the average player, absolutely just this tank is pretty bad for. I'm not sure why I liked it so much, but I'm guessing that this is a well-needed buff, and I'm hoping they maybe buff it even a little more. I would want them to buff maybe the armor profile, because the armor profile really is lacking sometimes. Sometimes it actually really works well with the tracks and the hole, but most of the time it doesn't really work too well. But sometimes it actually works really well, which is obviously kind of funny. T44 is going to be getting a same buff as the T54. This is also on a stock gun, so nothing big there. T54 Mod 1 is getting a buff, which I'm actually glad about this, that the engine power is getting buffed. This tank felt very sluggish. The armor really isn't the best in the tank. It's supposed to have really good armor, but the armor have just been power crept a ton by other tanks out there. This tank has been power crept a lot. It used to be really good. Even when I got it like 2 years ago, it was still decent. Compared to now, this tank is absolutely not good at all, so I'm glad they're buffing it some. T44 100, another tank that I'm glad they are buffing. This tank is extremely it's bad. It's getting the same buff as the pretty much the same buff as the T54 Mod 1. It just has better effective power weight ratio already, but that's getting buffed even more. As well, they're buffing the penetration on this tank by 5. Moving on to the T25/2, the reload time is going to be buffed on this tank. I'm actually surprised by this. The reload on this tank is already very quick. I actually loved this tank when I played it. This was one of my favorite tier 7s, to be honest. This tank is great. The gun is insane on this tank, and they're just making it even more insane. I guess they're doing a similar to the Hellcat buff, which is insane, and now this will hopefully be even more insane. So yeah, quite the surprise actually to me that they're buffing this tank, because I thought it was really good. Kuhn's Panzer, this is just going to be the tank that is in the birthday event, so that will be coming out in update 8.0. We'll have to see how that does in the update. I'm not sure how good of a tank it is, but we'll have to wait and see. Here is actually some armor buffs. Never mind, they are buffing the Pershing's armor. Here we have some armor buffs. We're going to be seeing what are they buffing on these tanks. I did not know they were buffing the Pershing. And I don't think it's going to matter too much, because I really can't see. Okay, there's like a tiny buff on the side. Oh, it's a buff on the side of the turret. Okay, they're buffing the armor on the side of the turret here, so that will be a little better. Not really going to be doing too much for the tank, but it is a little bit of something. And on the T32, it looks like they're going to be buffing the whole armor of this tank, as you can see right there. It'll be getting a decent buff. It hopefully will now be bouncing a lot more shells. Of course, this tank needs a buff. It is not the best tank in the battlefield, so that is a good buff as well. T28 is finally getting a buff as well. This, of course, is a very good buff, and it is going to be in armor. Actually, hold up, what? They're buffing and nerfing the tank at the same time. Okay, they're removing armor on the deck right here, but they're making the sides of the tank much stronger. That is very interesting. I'm not sure why they thought that that needed a nerf right there, but then they're going to make the armor on the sides over here so much better. Interesting, but I think overall it's going to be a buff, because the sides now will not be quite so weak. Centurion 1 now is also getting a buff. Now this buff, where is the buff on this tank? I am not sure where the buff is. I really can't see it. If you see that, let me know, but I really can't see the buff on this tank. It's going to be very minimal, if it is one at all, really. Alright, now the Churchill gun carrier. And this tank is getting a armor buff on the little bit of that lower plate right there, which is of course good. This tank has pretty bad armor, and for how exposed it is, it does need a buff. So it's a small buff, but it is a welcomed one. Now the armor on the BDR looks like it will be nerfed. So this armor is going to be nerfed on the BDR. It looks like the side of the turret, which is good. I think it does need a nerf, to be honest. This tank is broken armor-wise against most tier 5s, so I think this tank did need a nerf. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and this will be update 8.0, pretty much everything coming out in the update. Of course, we'll have the events for the birthday, and I'm not sure if there's going to be anything else in that update that's special or anything, but that is pretty much all for the update. It's going to be a big update. Oh, and by the way, I'm not talking anything about, also, this is just the balance changes. Also in this update is the new tank models, the PDR tank models, which will basically make the tanks higher definition. We're going to have the suspension changes, which will make the suspension of tanks much more realistic. And then we're going to also have, what was the other thing? I can't remember the other thing that they're doing, but there's another thing I'm pretty sure. I can't quite remember the other thing that they're doing. Maybe it's not. I'm not sure. Anyway, but yeah, that's pretty much it for Update 8.0. Massive update, of course. Update 8.0 is the .0 updates like 7.0, 6.0 are always the biggest updates of the year where they do the most changes and add the most things. So this one seems to be a pretty good update in my opinion. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.